What's going on, and welcome. Hour number 2 of what we hope is your favorite sports talk radio program, Idaho Sports Talk. Prater in the ball game, got JP in the studio as well. In this hour, we're going to give you a chance to win some prizes with trivia. We're going to pick our NFL championship game weekend selections, and Prater says he has a guarantee of who is going to the Super Bowl. He's going to tell you that in a couple of minutes.
I'm coming after you hard, ball game.
Yep.
I'm way behind in these stats, and there's no way I'm writing a $200 check to BYU football. I'm coming after you hard this weekend, buddy.
That's what's at stake. Loser has to write a $200 check to the other team's football rival. In my case, yeah, Prater, if you come back and shock the world and beat me, I got to write a $200 check to Boise State University football.
Break that pen out, sucker. Break
Not
that pen out.
excited to do that. Not excited. So I like my chances of winning, though, Prater. Let's head to our Fat Guys Fresh Deli hotline. And this is a new form of this interview with BJ Rains. We've been having him on this show at this hour on this day for a couple of years now, but the relationship between us here at KTIK and BJ at Bronco Nation News has went to another level. This interview is now available on all social media channels for both KTIK and Bronco Nation News. So we are all over the place getting you up to speed on everything Bronco Nation News. And BJ, welcome to the program. And obviously you're live from Fresno in a big game tonight against the Bulldogs. How you see this playing out? Welcome to the show, bud.
Yeah, me and Bob are here at the hotel together in separate rooms, so we could have done this together, I guess, here at the same hotel in Fresno. Looking forward to the game tonight. It should be an exciting game. Really excited, and obviously, as everybody knows, Boise State going for the school record 14. And I think if you look at the 13, I know you guys have talked about it. Bob's talked about it. I don't think it's comparable. I think what they've done to this point, 13 in a row, is so much more impressive than last year. You talk about winning 5 games on the road with fans. You talk about the places they've won, the teams they've beat. It's not even comparable. This is the best 13 game stretch they've had in school history by far, and they can cement themselves tonight as the longest winning streak in school history. But it's not going to be easy. Fresno State's selling $5 tickets. They're expecting a decent crowd tonight, and it's a game that Boise State almost lost the first time these two teams played a month ago or so in Boise. So it's going to be a tough game. Orlando Robinson's a heck of a player, and they're going to lose at some point. We'll see. Tonight is going to be a tough one if they want to keep this streak going.
BJ, the second leading scorer for Boise State, Marcus Shaver Jr., his status, he twisted his ankle the last game, still came back and played on it, but ankles are tricky. Sometimes playing on it right away might be the best thing you can do. What's the status there? What can you tell us? Do you think Marcus Shaver plays, and how do you think he does?
Yeah, and that was one of the comments we just got live on the YouTube stream here for KTIK as well. Jay asking about Marcus Shaver's status and what happens if he can't go and who steps up. And I think he's going to go. Obviously, he played the whole second half, so that's a good sign. He just rolled his ankle, and so if he had not come back in the game, I think it would have been a scarier proposition. So, he wasn't himself out there. He was obviously limping around, but everything I've been told, indications are that he'll play tonight, and we'll see, his effectiveness. And on the other side, it's very interesting because Orlando Robinson is going through the same thing. He twisted his ankle and only played 15 minutes, and their coach, Justin Hudson, was saying yesterday that they expect and hope he'll play, but don't know what percentage he'll be at. So the two best players out there on the court, both dealing with ankle injuries, and I think whichever one is more effective might give his team the better chance to win tonight.
We're talking to BJ Rains, Bronco Nation News. That we do this every Friday at 4 o'clock right here on Idaho Sports Talk. BJ, and you can also follow right now on our KTIK Twitter channels, social media channels, Bronco Nation News social media channels as well. BJ, I was going to ask you about that. You kind of just answered my question, but let's dive into a little bit more detail. Who does have the advantage if Shaver and Robinson are both limited with a little bit of ankle issues?
Oh, definitely Boise State. Boise State's the deeper team. Orlando Robinson is a huge, high usage guy for Fresno State. He gets the ball in his hands an awful lot, averages 19 points a game, 8.6 rebounds. I mean, you look at some of the recent games, he had a 30-point game recently. I mean, Orlando Robinson does it all. He shoots the 3 ball, he shoots it inside, he's shooting, 79% from the free throw line, 50% from the field. He's even like 35% from 3-point range. So he's by far their best player. He's, right now maybe the favorite for Mountain West Player of the Year. And according to KenPom, he's like top 5 in the National Player of the Year race in terms of at least some of the numbers. So he's got a chance to be an All-American candidate. So he is more important to his team. I hate to say this, it's not to degrade Marcus Shaver, but he is probably a little more important to his team's success than Marcus Shaver is. So if Orlando Robinson is, not 100% or not able to play at all, that's a much bigger hit for them. But, Marcus Shaver's hit some big shots, and you remember he hit the 2 game-winning shots in the last week, but he kind of started these theatrics against Fresno State. He hit a huge 3-pointer from the top of the key with about 4 minutes left to give Boise State the lead. He hit another bucket and kind of fueled a late run. Boise State was losing in that game and ended the game, I think, on a 17-5 run that Marcus Shaver Jr. kind of fueled. So they need him out there, and they need him healthy, and he's obviously a huge piece. And, because he finished the game, like I said, I think that's a good sign that he'll probably be okay tonight.
Orlando Robinson did his damage against Boise State last time, but Boise State won that basketball game. It's a tricky matchup for Armouche because sometimes he's got to come out to the 3-point line, and I think he handled himself pretty well in that last game. How do you see that matchup tonight? And if Orlando Robinson's limping around a little bit, that's got to be advantage for Armouche, who's not the fastest guy in the world.
Yeah, I mean, if the number one key to the game tonight is Mladen Armouche has to stay out of foul trouble, and I think that's a very well said, Prater, in terms of him having to guard him outside at the 3-point line and moving around and he has to do a lot of things. And if Mladen Armouche, we saw what happens to Boise State when he gets in foul trouble. You got those 2 cheap fouls in 5 seconds in the Wyoming game, and then they had other guys. I know Degenhart did an okay job on him there, but you're trying to put Lucas Milner on him and Najee Smith, and they just don't have another center that's as the size of Armouche and just the defensive presence that Armouche is and the rebounding presence that he is. So the number one key tonight is Mladen Armouche staying out of foul trouble, playing his 30-plus minutes, A, so he can defend Robinson, but B, so he can rebound out there, because if he's on the bench, Fresno State all of a sudden has a rebounding edge down there in the paint. And so, I think that is going to be a matchup to watch, Robinson and against, Armouche. And it's a very veteran officiating crew tonight. It's a Friday night. There's not very many games tonight, so I believe all 3 officials have done the Final Four or have at least worked deep into the tournament tonight. So you're going to have a veteran crew on a Friday night that
Nice.
You hope officiate this game the right way.
BJ Rains, Bronco Nation News every Friday here on Idaho Sports Talk. I got to ask you some football question. It is a football Friday. We're holding on to these here in the studio, BJ. Next week, I think we're probably going to know for sure once signing day comes and whatnot, who the super seniors for the Boise State football team will be next year. Now, there's a lot of options, but that's kind of on the coaching staff, right? I mean, they get to pick who they're going to invite back and give a full scholarship to. What are you hearing? What are you thinking?
Well, I was putting this list together. They got 22 seniors or super seniors, I guess 22 seniors that were eligible to come back, if I did my math correctly. And I'm sure you guys have all gone through this. So the one, you look at the ones that are totally gone that we know of, and then there's a couple maybes. But you guys tell me where I'm wrong here. But I have 10 coming back. I have Zeke Noah, Jared Reed, the corner, Tyreek Jones, Caleb Biggers, Shane Irwin, Davis Cutter, Kurt Rafdahl, John Ojukwu, Will Farah, and Divine Obasheri. Do any of those 10 stand out to you as you don't think are back?
My list is Biggers, Ojukwu, Cutter, Obacheri, Tyreek Jones, Shane Irwin, and I threw Scale in there, although we're not quite sure where his deal is. I did not include Ferrer, Noah, Reed, or Rafdahl in my list. So I'm still thinking maybe 4 to 6.
Okay, I think Jared Reed, when we talked to the new corners coach might have slipped and mentioned Jared Reed is coming back. He was the Utah State transfer that got hurt and never played last year. That's why I've got him on the list. And I did an interview with Riley Wimpy, and he said that Zeke Noah was coming back when I talked to Riley last week. So I've got Zeke Noah on my list. I thought Rafdahl may have said something. Farah, I believe when we talked to him at one point, said if they wanted him back, he'd be back. The other two I'm unsure of, Roman Kofensis and Damon Cole. I don't know if you guys have heard anything on those two, but the ones that we know are officially gone, according to my list, obviously are the 2 running backs, Jack Sears, Shakir, Cantrell, Harrington, Kelemete, Octavius Evans, and C.T. Thomas. And you get that's 22. And, last year they only had 8. So, my list is 10. So I don't know if there's a situation where you're probably right, Prater. They're probably not going to take more this year than they did last year, when last year you could go over the scholarship limit. This year you have to get back to 85.
Yeah.
And so, I still think there's a transfer or two to happen at some point too, because there's some roster management that has to happen here to get this roster down to 85 by the year.
All right, speaking of management, Jeremiah Dickey's got himself a little bit of a job. All of a sudden he wakes up and he's got 11 new openings on his football schedule. A lot of buzz this week about who's going to replace Boise or BYU on Boise State's football schedule. We had a lot of conversations from a lot of different listeners. Johnny and I have some thoughts and opinions. What kind of mixture of games do you want to see Boise State put in these 11 spots?
Well, I was looking at their future schedules and where they have the openings, and that obviously has something to do with it. And I know games can get moved around or not. Jeremiah Dickey talked about, I believe, wanting to play an FCS school every year.
Yeah.
And if that's the way they're going to do it, I see no reason why you wouldn't just play Idaho and Idaho State. Alternate Idaho and Idaho State. Some fans love it. Some fans hate it. I just, pay them their check, let them come in there, beat them 55-3. It's two local in-state schools. You help them out. You get an easy win. I see no reason why you need to be playing some of the middle Tennessee states or whatever of the FCS worlds from schools that aren't even close to here. It makes no sense to me. Play the Southern Utahs, play the Idaho States, Montanas. You play the local regional FCS schools if you want to do that. That's fine. And then I think you need to go into the recruiting areas. Arizona State, get down into the Phoenix area. Arizona, if you want to go in the Pac-12 there. I know Utah, Prater mentioned, would be one that makes sense to me. The Texas schools. What about Baylor? I mean, can Jeremiah Dickey work out a home and home with Baylor? You're probably shooting too high if you try to get Texas, but maybe a Texas Tech. Maybe you want to go into the recruiting areas and you want to obviously get some Power 5 schools. Maybe you can get a Missouri, maybe a mid-level to lower-level SEC team that's willing to do a home and home. I know with Eli Drinkwitz being at Missouri. So I don't know. I think you want to get a mixture of it. Some of these, like 2026, they need 2 games now. There's a lot of openings now that they're going to have to deal with. And with this new philosophy with the FCS, there's going to be some movement. So wouldn't surprise me if you see some other games get moved around and stuff as well. But I want to see Idaho. I want to see Idaho State, and give me some games in areas where Boise State does recruiting.
Yeah, BJ, last thing for me here, too. We just talked with Jason Eck today of Idaho, and he said, dude, we play Nevada, Wyoming, and San Jose State already scheduled. We are scheduling Mountain West games. Why can't it just be Boise State? It seems like the Vandals want this too. I know fans do. I think most fans do, Prater. And fans that don't, you can text us and tell you why. But, BJ, do you think Jeremiah Dickey's going to wave that magic wand and one day return Idaho and Boise State on the football field together?
Yes, I do. I think that will happen at some point. I do agree with him. You look at their future schedules. Each of the next 4 years, they've got 2 Power 5 road games already scheduled. So Idaho's all about taking the road paychecks and getting paid. And if you're going to play at, all these other schools, and they're all regional games: Oregon, Wyoming, Washington State, San Jose State, like you said, Cal, Nevada. They play Indiana next year on the road for some reason. But I think it just makes perfect sense. I know I get it. When Idaho was FBS, they wanted the home and home, and there was no chance that was going to happen. But now that Idaho's FCS, they realize where they are. I think you take your paycheck, you just do it every other year, every third year here in Boise, and you call it good.
BJ, any updates at all on Florida State coming back here?
That's not going to happen. No, I don't. I don't think that's going to happen. I think if you're Boise State, you try to get some money out of it. You see how much money you can get out of it. But everything I've heard, people I've talked to, I don't think Florida State has strong interest in wanting to come all the way back here and play that game. So I haven't heard if there's been a financial settlement reached or what's going on there. But if you're a Boise State fan, still holding on to Florida State coming to the Blue, at least under the current agreement that they had from a couple years ago, I think that's a pipe dream.
All right, BJ, we'll look at your coverage tonight down at the Save Mart Center on Bronco Nation News. Always appreciate this hit you do with us on Fridays. Safe travels, too.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks. Have a good weekend.
Love it. BJ Rains here, Idaho Sports.